Okay.
Okay. Welcome to a meeting of, actually, sorry, can I get a motion to come out of executive, please?
I'll make a motion to come out of executive, Janice.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do Ms. Virtue and
Okay. Welcome to a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media, consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, and that advance notice required therein has been provided. This is a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills at which formal action may be taken. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda. Due to the public health emergency in the state of New Jersey, as declared in Executive Order 103, the board will be suspending its normal meeting procedures this evening and conducting a virtual meeting. Directions for accessing the virtual public meeting were posted on the district website. Okay, if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. Ms. DeMarco?
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober. Is she frozen?
Oh.
Okay, got you. Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro.
Yes. Okay, Ms. DeMarco, would you like to do correspondence, please?
Yes, we have exactly 3 emails with concerns for schedule change to full day. Email from Colby Stevenson asking the board to reconsider the decision for the full day at the high school. Email from Joel Dickinson asking the board to reconsider full days at the high school. Included in his correspondence was a link to a petition signed by students and community members. Email from Katie and Mike Long offering feedback for Bedwell full day and support for full day at the middle school. Then we received 11 emails in support of full day instruction for middle school and high school. And I'll just list the individuals that submitted an email. Email from Joanna Benowitz, Uchente, excuse me if I pronounce this name wrong, Imu Ilomo, Thomas Pagel, and Courtney Pagel, Kim McLean, Megan Gore, Heather Ike, Maggie Dooley, Christine Kelly, Melanie Smith, and Amy Trainer. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. This evening, before we move into the superintendent report, I would just like to make us a statement on behalf of the board. So I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. As we've said time and again this year, we can all surely agree this has been a difficult year for everyone. But I'm happy to say we are beginning to see some welcome rays of light on the horizon. Since the beginning of the school year and the implementation of the Somerset Hills School District Restart and Recovery Plan, the goal of the Board of Education has been to consistently provide students with the highest quality of education possible throughout this pandemic. While this has been an evolving process, all of us understand that children learn best when they are physically in classrooms together with their teachers. As a district, we have continuously strived to increase the amount of in-person learning opportunities for our students throughout the year, only when it was deemed safe to do so, and always in compliance with New Jersey state and local guidelines. The Board of Education fully supports and applauds the efforts of our administration to provide a safe environment for learning, to increase in-person instructional times for students, to support them through the changes that they have experienced, and ultimately provide the most well-rounded experience possible during a very challenging time in the world of education. Based on the updated state and local safety guidance, we can now provide the opportunity for all of our students to return to school for full days beginning May 10th. Given the proven link between in-person instructional time and positive student outcomes, we cannot lose the opportunity for these additional hours of instruction. While some students may be moving on to college or jobs, and we understand this may feel different for them, it is our responsibility and our sworn duty as Board of Education members to educate every student in our district to the best of our ability. Throughout this year, we have appreciated the successful efforts and creativity of our teachers to combat curriculum, meet student needs, and openly communicate with families. We know that the requirements on teachers and staff have been demanding, to say the least, just as they have been for our students. We also know that for teachers, time is of the essence, and we are confident in the professionalism and ability of our staff to maximize the last 2 months of school. Our teachers have risen to the occasion again and again, and we believe they will continue to do so for the benefit of our children through the last day of school. Contrary to rumors that we have heard and have been brought to our attention, there are no financial incentives for our superintendent or the district for extending the day. The board acknowledges and appreciates hearing the voices of our students in the petition and through other various forms of communication. And we appreciate hearing from all of our community members. While we do not believe that it is in the best educational interest of our student body to maintain the current schedule for which they have petitioned, we certainly hear their concerns as noted in the comments and are confident that the administration will continue to work to address these needs. While change is not easy for anyone, the ability to provide a full day of school for our students will include benefits that we have been striving for as a community since last March. These benefits include increased academic instructional time, the ability for students to engage with their peers and trusted adults, easier access to mental health supports, and getting back to a routine, which is beneficial to the development of our students as well as our families and our community. Thank you all again for joining us here tonight. We hope that you agree that we are on the best path forward to supporting all of our students for a successful future. Okay, thank you. And now I would like to turn it over to Dr. Dempsey for the report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Santoro. Children and adults alike appreciate predictability, and this year has had very little of that. Educators in particular are consummate planners who take comfort in expected routines, and over the course of the last 13 months, we have literally had to reinvent nearly everything we do. The administration appreciates the continued support, counsel, and clear guidance we have received from this board throughout the pandemic. The public should be confident that every year the board and superintendent engage in collaborative goal setting for the upcoming year, and progress toward these district goals becomes a touchstone for ongoing communication and conversation between the board, the administration, and the public. Goals established last May around reopening directed the administration that throughout the year, we should expand school offerings appropriately by balancing the desire for additional in-person instruction with guidelines for safety. We have consistently reported out on these efforts through this public forum, hearing from a variety of stakeholders. Local health officers were here in September to help us all understand reopening from a health perspective. The Director of Guidance was here in November to help us all understand the ways in which the district was promoting wellness this year. Dr. Butler presented to us in December to help us better understand contact tracing. Curriculum supervisors presented K-8 learning data to us in January. Principals presented to us in February to help us understand their decision-making. And Dr. Corbett is here tonight to speak to the impact the pandemic has had on school security measures. I appreciate that yesterday the Burnsville News recognized, and I quote, The Somerset Hills Regional School District has steadily moved toward a more traditional schedule since September, when it offered an in-school option of half days, 2 and 3 days a week, end quote. Eliminating virtual Mondays in the fall, expanding our offerings to 5 days a week for special populations and kindergartners from the fall through into the winter, and combining cohorts for the third marking period in February were all steps along this journey. And when more families wanted more students to return to in-person instruction for the fourth marking period, we happily committed to finding safe ways to accommodate this desire. Throughout the process, the board has worked cooperatively with the administration to provide safe access to co-curriculars, recognizing that students' experiences outside of the classroom provide a benefit that cannot be easily measured. So am I sympathetic to those who say they wish Burnetts High School and Burnettsville Middle School had offered a full day of instruction earlier this year? I absolutely am. COVID-19 public health recommendations for local health departments for K-12 school is a document that has been repeatedly updated this year. And the March 23rd release clearly recognizes that K-12 schools should be among the first settings to reopen when they can do so safely. But this document notably recognizes that elementary settings and settings for older students have different needs, which impacted our planning. Taking this step on May 10th offers the district, at a minimum, the equivalent of a week more of school time before the end of the year, and I believe we are safely ready for this step. At this point, the district has done our best to facilitate vaccine access for staff that is interested. Somerset County has been in the yellow or moderate zone, according to the Somerset County Department of Health, for the last 2 weeks. And last week, the district, for the first time I can recall, did not have any COVID cases. So while I would have been thrilled to have BHS and BMS offer full days back in April when Bedwell did so, I share the board's support for doing so now. That said, I understand that asking students and staff to adjust to yet another change this year is hard. I have heard comments in regards to mental health concerns and this schedule change. Please trust that the district remains fully committed to supporting students as they navigate their worlds, and a full day of in-person instruction will provide increased access to guidance counselors and support staff. I remind families to reach out to their guidance counselors or the director of guidance, if they desire this support. Concerns regarding the lunch plan that was initially put forth are understandable, and I hope that Dr. Nigel's letter yesterday addressed some of these concerns. I have asked the Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Colleen Butler, to work with BHS and BMS principals to help review these plans in an ongoing effort to ensure that students are safe while eating with their masks off, that these settings will not trigger contact tracing, that students have sufficient opportunity to promote healthy eating habits, and that time for eating is balanced with safe social opportunities. I will consistently advocate for the role of outdoor spaces in this effort, but I recognize that principals are experts in terms of their students, their staff, their schedules, and their facilities. And so they are the ones who are best able to craft their school plans. This year has definitely been tough for us all, but a superintendent's instructional leadership responsibility includes the mission to ensure a system of thorough and efficient education for all students. Thoroughness implies instructional time is to be maximized. Efficiency implies that the district is completely leverages its financial and fiscal expenses, and educating all students demands that the board and the administration carefully consider how complex decisions impact individual students, while also balancing the needs of students across the grade levels and across the continuum of need. I share the board's commitment to the path as it has been laid out. Thank you. I would now like to introduce our very patient student representatives, Kristen Lee and Leah Yalix. Are you here from the middle school? I feel like I saw Kristen a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Up there's Leah. Okay, wait for Kristen. Leah, who's starting? Is it you or is it Kristen?
Kristen is.
Okay, hold on. I just want to see her face.
I can't turn on my camera for some reason.
Jason Winch, can you help her, or does she have to do it on her end?
I'm looking to see if she's muted out right now. Hold on.
Okay, it looks like she is.
Hi,
Hi, Kristen, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm so excited to have you here. Can you turn, do you want to turn your camera on or do you want it off?
I used to put it on, but something happened.
Okay. Oh, wait, there you are. Hi. All right, Kristen, Leah said you're starting us off, so it's all you.
Yeah.
Go
Good
ahead, sweetie.
everyone. My name is Kristen Lee. I am a sixth grader and the assistant secretary of the student council at BMS. This is the first time I am speaking at the board meeting. I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on at BMS. Well, there's a fundraiser going on. We are working with our HSA committee to flock students' lawns with flamingos. The flamingos are painted in colors of our schools, Duke, Rutgers, Princeton, and Penn State. Money will be donated to Get Houses Flock that will go to our state student council charity, which will Emmanuel Cancer Foundation. The Emmanuel Cancer Foundation donates money to families whose children are affected by cancer. The house with the most donations is eligible for prizes. I hope a lot of people get involved because that means more money for the Emmanuel Cancer parents. This fundraiser is going to last from April to early June. Spring sports are happening at BMS. This season, have boys baseball, girls softball, and track. We also started a new fencing club this spring at BMS. Today was the first baseball game. The boys have their home opener against Morris Plains, and track has a meet at Gill St. Bernard's. Go Bulldogs! Friday is a spirit day at BMS. Don't forget to wear your house colors. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kristen. That was great. All right, Leah, how about you?
Good evening. My name is Lao Yali, and I am an 8th grader at BMS. I'm also a member of our Student Culture and Climate Committee. March Madness brackets were exciting here. Princeton won with 3,910 points, meaning that they had the most participants get the brackets close to what the final results were. Our top scorers were Teddy Saltz, Alex Vaccaro, and Garrett Sr. The basketball shootout competition had many participants take part both in school and others who sent in videos from home. Rutgers won the Oscars Challenge, and Rutgers also had the greatest amount of bonus points in the basketball shootout. Furthermore, we are collecting old sneakers for the mainstream cleanup as a way to keep shoes out of the landfills. Recycle your old shoes and earn community service hours. Kristen talked a little bit about BMS sports today. I'm on the track team, and I'm here to tell you that our first meet we did great. There were many races that we won, new best times achieved, and winning relays for both the boys and the girls. The Student Culture and Climate Committee is working hard and planning a fun event for May and June. Hopefully, we get to be outside and do lots of fun activities similar to Field Day. Additionally, Mrs. Nancy Peter, a muralist, came and gave the front lobby of our school a new, different, and awesome look. When students and faculty came back to school after spring break, they were greeted by nice birch trees and a quote by Amanda Gorman on the wall saying, "There is always light if you are brave enough to see it and brave enough to be it." We are excited to be going back to school full days in May so we can continue to come closer to our old normal. These fun activities make school fun during these hard times. Thank you.
Thank you both. That was great. And that new mural definitely looks wonderful. If anybody's near the middle school, stick your head in and look at it. It's right in the entryway. It's wonderful and inspiring. Thank you, girls. It was so good to see you. How about Lucy Taylor? Are you here? There she is. Hey, Lucy.
I am. Hi. Hi, my name is Lucy Taylor. I'm a senior and the 2021 student representative to the Board of Education. I hope you are doing well. We are coming up on the final weeks of the school year, and many things are happening right now. Spring sports teams have been working hard, and we have seen some impressive wins in the month they have been playing. Boys lacrosse won today against Gill. Girls lacrosse have a game tomorrow. Boys tennis won yesterday, and baseball and softball won on Monday. I'm excited to see what all spring sports achieve in the coming weeks. AP exams begin next week. Teachers and students are working hard to prepare for the next few weeks of testing. Good luck to all students taking AP exams. Bernards High School was recently ranked highly as one of the top schools in New Jersey and the nation as per US News and World Report. This achievement is a testament to how hard all students and teachers work to make a school environment that allows us to reach our full potential, with teachers that continue to teach and give us a high quality education. Even though this year was different due to COVID, the high ranking shows that BHS teachers and students and our administration put an effort no matter the circumstances. On Friday, April 30th, seniors will be wearing their college shirts, as May 1st is the official deadline for college. It has been a journey throughout the year, and I'm excited to see what this graduating class will accomplish in the coming years. Additionally, Bernards Fest is a senior event planned by Project Graduation for next Friday on the turf. There will be food trucks, games, and we get to dress up into a costume of our choice. Us seniors weren't able to have all of the traditional senior events this year, like our senior barbecue, Night of the Stars, or fashion show. So this event was designed to encompass some of what we have lost. I'm looking forward to the night, and I can't wait to see what is planned. I would also like to address the letter sent out on Friday, April 23rd, stating that beginning Monday, May 10th, Bernards High School will expand its day to run from 7:55 a.m. to 2:21 p.m. With all due respect to Ms. Santor's comments, we do not believe that the board has considered all aspects of the impact of this decision. As this year's student representative, it is my job to be the voice to share student concerns. In light of hearing about the full day initiative, my fellow classmate created a petition. Keep BHS at half days for the remainder of the school year. This petition was sent out to students, teachers, and was added onto the Bernardsville bubble page. As of tonight, at 6:30 p.m., the petition has 1,111 signatures. While I feel that number is impressive for a small town like ours, I thought that a few comments on the post summed up the concerns of students. Mary Snyder, a mother of a BHS graduate and current senior, commented, "Keep high school at an early dismissal at 12:15. High schoolers have actively participated in instructional support time, have much more homework, more need for study, and have after-school sports and employment. The upperclassmen in particular do not benefit from this extended day, particularly with AP exams beginning next month." Emma Menz, a senior, commented, "I might agree with this decision if it had happened much earlier in the year or the beginning of next year. But 2 months before the school year ends, it makes no sense. As a student, like many others in the school, I have scheduled my time and activities around the modified half-day schedule. Changing the schedule again before the end of the year adds to the chaos that AP tests, graduation, and other events and activities both in school and out already bring. Many will try to undermine our position in this, citing years in the past and the laziness of teens. But 2020 to 2021 has truly been a complex and stressful year for students, teachers, and parents, and changing the schedule to a full day at the end of the school year will only make that worse. Students have adapted over the past 8 months to adhere their time and busy schedules for this 12:15 dismissal. Students tutor, have one-on-one time with teachers, and join crucial review sessions during the hour and 41 minutes they are in control of their school day. This year has been difficult for all. In just a year, we have flipped our lives to adjust to a world we never thought we'd be living in. Students do not need another change in such a critical time of the school year. The concerns about the full school day do not stem from students not wanting to be in school. It stems from a break in the routines and structure we all formed over the past 8 months. These things take time to get used to. As my classmate Joel Dickinson wrote in a letter to the superintendent, I, like many of my peers, was quite pleased with the notion that normalcy is slowly being restored to our public education system. However, a significant number of students and parents, based on the science mission, are confused by this change, as well as the fact that it is occurring so late into the school year. I agree with you, Mr. Santoro and Dr. Dempsey, that it is your job to provide the highest quality of education, and our school district has shown that consistently, which I am so grateful for. But students feel as if going back to a full day will not guarantee a better education in the next few weeks. And instructional support time allows for a more personalized education compared to full days that do not always include it. I do not doubt that this topic will be brought up again tonight. But I wanted to end by saying this. 2 weeks ago, the school began the fourth quarter with 65% of students in person. As a student that's been in person throughout the whole school year, you do not know how nice it is to have the desks in the classroom close to full, or to not be the only person in the classroom all day. I, along with many students, hope that in the next few weeks, we can continue to see those desks stay full. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lucy. You're always very eloquent, and we certainly appreciate all you shared. Dr. Corbett is here with us this evening, and we're going to feel like we're taking a hard turn because I recognize that what he's here to talk about is not necessarily, doesn't necessarily dovetail with what we've talked about so far this evening. But the board and the public may recall that there was a question a couple of months back, I guess, around the notion of how ongoing security drills that the schools conduct have, how do they look in this year that looks different than any other. And I have to give Dr. Corbett a lot of props and kudos because he has voluntarily this year taken on the role of sort of liaison between the state, who are just constantly putting out updated guidance, and the district, and he has attended countless webinars and made all that information kind of manageable for our staff. So he was gracious enough to agree to come this evening and talk to us briefly about what security typically looks like, and then how this year looks maybe not exactly that same way. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Dr. Dempsey. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening regarding school security. I do have a PowerPoint that I believe Mr. Winch has, and if he could put that up for everyone to see, you can just follow along as I kind of walk you through. So the PowerPoint that I'm presenting this evening, the presentation was prepared by myself and the other two assistant principals at the middle school and Bedwell School for this evening. And it will be posted on the website as well, in case you need to refer back to something at a later date or would like to share anything that was presented this evening with others who weren't able to attend this evening. Next slide, please. I wanted to start off with first talking about our Special Law Enforcement Officer, or SLEO. If you could hit tab, please, or spacebar, whichever. There we go. So Officer Burns is our SLEO at the high school. He is there as the other SLEO at Burnsville Middle School / BES, excuse me, Officer Matt Brown, during the school day when students are present. So when the students are in the building, they are in the building as well. And they regularly communicate with students, faculty, and administration on an ongoing basis regarding any security concerns. Next bullet. They conduct vulnerability assessments. They are constantly moving through the building on a daily basis. And anytime they notice any concerns or anything like that, they're always very quick to let the administration know about it. They also review and make suggestions to improve any safety protocols that we have in place. They patrol the building during the school day, as I mentioned before, ensuring that all exterior doors are secured. That seems like something that might be automatic, but sometimes there may be a maintenance issue. Other times the door just might not close completely because there might be something in the way. On rare occasions, a door may be propped open, and the officers are very good about making sure that we do stay secure and those doors do stay closed and locked throughout the school day. They also patrol outside of the building, more so at the other campus during the school day for recess, lunch, and snack time when students are outside to ensure their safety. And they also direct traffic in the morning and when possible are also outside with traffic in the afternoon. They're very good about bringing, as I said, concerns to the administration. And they do speak directly as well with students, faculty, and staff whenever they note any concerns, safety concerns. They feel free to approach those people directly. Each building also has a school emergency response team. And the school emergency response team is really a spinoff of CERT that some of you may have heard of, CERT, or the Citizens Emergency Response Team in town in Bernardsville. It was brought to BHS by Chief Valentine many years ago. We currently have 15 staff members. First bullet, please. And one more for the first bullet. The CERT receives training from the Bernardsville Police Department and also from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Next bullet. CERT observes all fire drills and school security drills, and CERT also provides recommendations to improve these drills with the information that they gather while they are observing. And CERT works with administrators to appropriately respond to emergencies as well. Thankfully, we do not have to mobilize the CERT team often, but we have had to in the past when we have security issues. And because of our training and our drills, they are always well prepared to respond to any emergency. They also, during an evacuation, will do things as simple as helping to collect attendance. We do have fire drills on a monthly basis. We do also occasionally have fire evacuations that are not drills. Thankfully, we have not had any serious fires, but we do occasionally have smoke detector malfunction or have some smoke in a kitchen area or something like that that may cause an evacuation. And the CERT team is well versed in how to make sure that everyone gets out safely, and then also make sure that we're able to gather attendance to confirm that everyone has made it out safely. CERT team members also have radios, two-way radios, aka walkie-talkies, and they also assist with what we call a hold during a MERT drill, which segues right into our next slide. And if you could go to the first bullet, please, Mr. Winch. Each building has a medical emergency response team. There are 17 members on the MERT team. And MERT members, first bullet, please, are trained and Red Cross certified in CPR and AED use. Some members are also first aid certified. And each building conducts 2 MERT drills per school year. Members respond to drills of specific emergency health issues, for instance, anaphylaxis, cardiac arrest, loss of consciousness, etc. And the drills focus on providing care until first responders arrive on the scene. The team has had to report for or respond to medical emergencies a number of times in the last several years. And again, our drilling, which is for the most part organized and overseen by our school nurses who do a phenomenal job keeping the team up and ready to go. They are able to respond and deal with any emergency that hits us at any time during the school year. Next slide, please. School security and fire drills. They look very different this year than they have in previous years, but the state, both fire official and the DOE, who oversees the school security part, have not made any exceptions, have not changed any code in terms of our requirement to hold these drills, to conduct these drills on a monthly basis. A school security drill is defined as an exercise other than a fire drill to practice procedures that respond to an emergency situation, included but not limited to a bomb threat, non-fire evacuation, a lockdown, or an active shooter situation, and that is similar in duration to a fire drill. That will vary a little bit from drill to drill. Some of the drills may be a bit longer, and some may even be a little bit shorter than a fire drill. But the goal is to not to take away any appreciable amount of instructional time when conducting these drills. So we do try to run them as efficiently as we can. Many members of the audience are probably familiar with fire drills. You probably all went through them when you were in school, but many of you, the older members of our audience, may not be familiar with the school security drills. School security drill law went into effect in 2009, and that's when schools started conducting these drills. Next slide, please. And first bullet, please. All of the drills are conducted in an age-appropriate manner. Can't go into a whole lot of detail in terms of what these drills look like in the schools. And that's because these, as the state has advised us, we don't want how we respond to emergencies to become public knowledge, because that can compromise our security if we were to share that publicly. But an example of an age-appropriate manner is the state has what they refer to, and I'll talk about a little bit later in this slide, an active shooter drill. Students in an elementary school, we would not come on the PA and say, this is a drill, there's an armed intruder in the building. That's not the way that we would announce that drill. We may well say something similar to that in a high school. So the way we approach the drills, maybe the way we announce the drills, and the way we conduct them may be a bit different. But at the end of the day, the students are all doing the same thing. They're going through the same procedures. They're getting safe based upon whatever situation it is that we're encountering. Next bullet, please. The first fire drill has to be conducted within 10 days of the school year, and the first security drill must be conducted within 15 days of the start of the school year. And next bullet, please. Public schools in New Jersey are required to conduct one fire drill and one school security drill per month. You probably don't remember, but way back when you were in school, more than likely, if it was in New Jersey, there were 2 fire drills each month. That got changed again back in 2009 when one of those fire drills was replaced with a school security drill. The drills that have to be, sorry, next bullet, please. The drills that we have to do each month. There's 10 of them altogether over the course of the school year. And there are 4 drills, if you could show all 4 of those bullets: the active shooter drill, the evacuation for non-fire reasons, and the bomb threat and a lockdown drill. Each of those have to be done 2 times per year. And then there are 2 additional drills that schools can more or less design in a typical year, more or less design on their own. It may involve something like, next bullet, please. It may involve something along the lines of conducting communication drills, notification drills, or tabletop drills. A little bit more about those. A notification drill was conducted this year. Notification drill is when we test our systems to make contact with those that are not in school, namely, most commonly, families. So parents, guardians. And we currently utilize, as I'm sure all of you are aware, we currently utilize School Messenger, and we have the ability to send out messages either via text message or telephone or email. And those 3 means were tested earlier in the year. And of course, this is one of those years since last March where you've probably had more communication than you would ever want from the school. But nonetheless, we did test our systems at the beginning of the year. The communications drill that we did, to differentiate it from a notification drill, the communication drill was for internal communications. That's when we test the radios, the 2-way radios or walkie-talkies. And also we test School Messenger and send messages out to students. So we can use School Messenger not just to reach home, but we can also use School Messenger via text if a student has opted in to reach them, and email to email directly to their district email accounts in mass. So those were tested earlier this year as well. Tabletop drills that I referred to, we would work through a specific scenario without involving or disrupting classes and students, but plan for and anticipate what the actual emergency might look like, again, without the need to interrupt classes. The school security and fire drills continue. The law enforcement officer must be present. With the next slide, please. A law enforcement officer must be present for a minimum of one security drill each year. As I mentioned, we have at the high school, we have Officer Burns, and at the middle school and at Bedwell, we have Officer Brown. And so we do have Bernardsville Police Department participating in every one of our drills. The minimum that the state requires is one. But even prior to the time we had SLEOs dedicated in each building or on each campus, we did involve Bernardsville Police in all of our drills, one each month, for security purposes. Schools are required, next bullet, sorry. Schools are required to keep a record of drills using the state's security drill record form. And next bullet, the superintendent is required to submit a school security statement of assurance annually to the New Jersey Department of Education. So we keep track of the drills that we do each month with quite a bit of detail, and we do submit that along with that statement of assurance. Next bullet. We recognize that this year has, and the state also recognizes that this year has presented some very unique challenges. The DOE has provided us with monthly training. That's the training that Dr. Dempsey referred to earlier. So I've been attending those monthly trainings, and typically when we met in August, we were talking about the September drill. In September, we talk about the October drill, and so on throughout the school year. So about a week before the month begins, we're told what the state is recommending that we do, the type of drill, and how they recommend that we conduct the drill. Some schools are doing their own thing, not attending the trainings at all. They may still be in compliance. They may be doing a good job. We didn't want to take any chances. We wanted to follow exactly what the state was advising us to do. And again, I can't share the details of the modifications that we've made to those drills, but as you might imagine, something like a lockdown, which you would typically visualize a group of students and staff members huddled in the corner of a room, is not something that we can do in the middle of a pandemic. So we have modified the drills, some of the drills a great deal, others not as much, but we've made changes that are in alignment with what the state has recommended that we do. And next bullet, please. As per the DOE's recommendations, drills this year have been modified, as I said, and that's to ensure the health and safety of our students and our staff. The SLEOs are present and they participate in all the security drills, as I mentioned earlier. The training that I attend each month is about an hour, and that's when they review the specific scenarios, again, with quite a bit of detail, exactly what we should and should not do. The big challenge with these drills when we modify them is that we don't want to create bad habits. So when we do a drill that's been modified and people are doing things a little bit differently than they would be in a non-pandemic setting, it does create potential problems down the road. So there is a balancing act between health and safety in the middle of a pandemic and also making sure that we respond to an emergency in an appropriate manner. So we've been walking that line as best we can with the advice that we have received from the state. And on the last slide, again, this will be posted, so you don't need to scribble anything down, but on the last slide is some contact information. So if you have any questions about security, for the most part, you would probably reach out to the assistant principals in each building, but I have contact information for both principals and assistant principals. So certainly feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions about security at all. I'm sure some of you are happy with what you've heard and others of you are tired of hearing me talk. But I do want to make sure that I thank you for the opportunity to present and share all this information with you, and also apologize that I can't give you more detail about what the drills actually look like in the school. But again, as I mentioned before, it just would not be prudent to do so, to share any of our internal procedures with the public, because that could compromise the safety of the students and the staff in the buildings. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Corbett. Appreciate all the information that you shared. And certainly I think for the board and for the public, it is clear that any sense that we are not moving forward in our commitment to the physical safety of students and staff on our campuses should be put to bed, I would hope. I think we are just about done with the report of the superintendent, though I do believe, Mrs. Tober, that you have some board members who want to recognize our retirees. Forgive me, I just don't remember who's doing what.
Yes, we have Bob and Heather.
Okay, I'll go first. Okay, the Somerset Hills Board of Education would like to recognize Ellen Brown for her 23 years of distinguished service to our school district. Ellen began her employment on November 1997 and worked in the central office at the Alcott building. She worked as a confidential secretary for the offices of the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and the business administrator during her career. We sincerely appreciate and applaud Ellen's service to our district and wish her well in her retirement. And on a personal note, I'd like to say thank you to Ellen. I met Ellen as a neighbor way before she started working, and when our sons were in Boy Scouts. Then once I became a board member 14 years ago, she was in the superintendent's office, and I've seen her move around, but she's always been helpful to board members to get things done or find things or get things that I may need or anybody else needs. So I want to personally thank her for all the years I've worked with her, both personally and on the board. Thank you, Ellen.
Okay, and I will go next. The Somerset Hills Board of Education would like to recognize Pamela Creerind for her distinguished service to our school district. Ms. Creerind began employment in our district 16 years ago and has been a paraprofessional in the special education department. We sincerely appreciate and applaud her service to our district and wish her well in her retirement. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you all so much. And that would conclude the report of the superintendent tonight.
Okay, we thank you very much, Dr. Dempsey. We will move on to public comments for actionable agenda items. We very much welcome input from the public. Public comments are welcomed at this time on any actionable agenda item. Towards the end of the meeting, there is a second public forum on any topic. Please state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board feels that there is a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent may address the comment. In accordance with New Jersey statute, the board will not discuss matters regarding specific personnel. Public comments will be limited to 30 minutes. If you would like to speak, please type your name in the chat and I will call on you. Thank you for your input. Okay, Mr. Hemans.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Nick Hemans. I live in town, 29 Old Army. I've been employed here at the high school for 10 years as a technology teacher and a boys lacrosse coach. First, I want to say, about with Lucy Taylor speaking. She's been a big proponent, and you listened to her then, and I think you should continue to listen to her now, to be perfectly honest. I'd like to address the anticipated change to a full day schedule with lunch and offer some brief insight.
Excuse me, Mr. Hemans.
Yes.
Mr. Hemans, hi.
Yes.
That's not an item that's on the agenda. This portion of the public comment is for items on the agenda.
Okay, the superintendent reported on it, so I thought it was appropriate now.
No, the superintendent's report is separate and apart. This portion of the public comment is only for items that are on the agenda, items that are for action on the agenda. You're welcome to make your comments at the second public comment portion
Okay, will
after the
do.
agenda items. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Habibi?
I'm going to speak at the end as well then. Sorry about that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any comments on actionable agenda items then? All right, seeing as there are none, we can go ahead and move into committee reports. Or I'm sorry, Mr. Marco, approval of minutes first.
Do you have a motion for the minutes
Oh.
approval?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Ready for a roll call?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Ms. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tover,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Okay, Bob, finance.
Okay, so for finance, the first thing we're going to do is have a public hearing on the school budget for 2021 to 2022. The budget has not changed since we met last month, and the county has approved it, and it was submitted. So this is the time where anybody from the public can comment on the budget, as we will vote on it later this evening. So do I have any comments from the public about anything in the budget? Seeing none, I will give my finance report. The finance committee met last Wednesday on the 21st of April for about an hour. All members were in attendance along with Dr. Dempsey, Dr. Butler, and Mrs. DeMarco. We discussed the budget, that we were going to have a hearing this evening, and obviously nobody spoke up. We also talked about the Amoresco contract, which we're going to vote on this evening. This is a company that we use to get the best rate for electricity and natural gas. And we weren't sure whether we'd get it done by tonight's meeting, but we will. So it's on the agenda for tonight's meeting. So we talked about that. The third item we talked about was applying for a safety grant from our insurance carrier for just a little over $9,000, and that's on the agenda for our approval tonight. We're going to use the money, if it's granted to us, to help with our security cameras. We're going to install some more cameras where they are necessary, or we don't have enough coverage. And the goal of the school district, we have 3 software systems working our cameras throughout the schools. We're trying to come up with a plan to get down to 1 software carrier to run all the cameras in a modern technology. So we're taking small steps, and we're going to share more with everybody as we march down that road. But getting these grants is quite helpful for us to make ends meet on the security cameras. The next item we talked about was the second round of CARES grant. It's ESSR number 2. It's also on the agenda, and we're going to get $212,000 for upgrading ventilation throughout the schools. And we're going to spend the money on help pay for all the needlepoint ionization detectors, detection systems that we're putting in all the HVAC systems throughout the 3 schools. We're also going to get $25,000 for accelerated program to get students accelerated from what they may have lost in the pandemic. And we're also going to get $45,000 for additional mental health services. So we're not sure exactly how those monies will be spent, but the administration will have to come up with a plan once we receive the grant. We also talked about a transportation contract with a Barker Bus, and we're going to try to renew with them. So Mrs. DeMarco is going to hopefully get that straightened out for our next meeting in May. We are satisfied with their services, and we'd like to stay with them. We've only been with Barker for a year, and they also do the Bedminster school system, so it works quite well. And the last thing we talked about was some compensation improvements for 2 members of our staff, which are also on the agenda this evening under personnel. That's all I have. I like to move motions 1 through 14. There's one, number 14's on the addendum. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Bob.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions on my report? Okay, let's have a roll call, please.
Before I do that, I just want to make one minor correction on the heading for public hearing. The date should read 2021 to 2022.
Right.
Okay, and then the roll call for a vote for on finance items, Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tover,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Pat, facilities and operations, please.
I'm just scrolling down. It's pretty far down on the list. So give me a second. I just scrolled up like an idiot. Anybody want to tell me exactly what page it's on? It's okay. I'm still scrolling.
Page 6, Pat.
I have page like 186 here somewhere. Here we go. Yeah, 189. So the committee met last Wednesday for approximately an hour. All the committee members were in attendance. In addition, Dr. Dempsey, Mrs. Butler, Mrs. DeMarco, and Mrs. Conglin. Mr. Hoppy was also at the meeting. The first thing we talked about was Mr. Hoppy spoke to us about a request by a parent to permit a student who will be at BHS to compete in gymnastics competitions as a representative for BHS. As there is no gymnastics team at the high school, the student will participate in 7 meets at a nominal fee. And if he or she advances to sectionals and states, there will be further nominal fees incurred. The issues are transportation and supervision on this. The committee asked Mr. Hoppy to touch base with the students' parents regarding transportation to and supervision of the student during these off-campus meets. The next thing we talked about was the Night of the Stars and the Last Blast. We have already approved the time requests for both of those events. But in doing so, and we did that, I think, last month or the week or the month before, but in doing so, we noted that both events end after the current stated policy time. So the committee recommends that the policy committee amend the current policy language as pertains to nighttime limits. As these events have already been scheduled for this year, the changes, of course, for requests for future events. The next thing, we received a request from Bernardsville Recreation Supervisor Bob Markowick for the use of district facilities at BMS, BHS, and Bedwell for summer recreation camps. And as there will be no cost to the district and no objections from the committee, approval was granted. Ms. DeMarco and Mr. Lucas will meet with the rec department to work out the details of the requests. The Bedwell Playground at request is now open. This is because of the school day at Bedwell's being extended, and we decided to reopen the playground for the after-school use of the public. Signage will be posted with specific use requirements, and we highly recommend that people pay attention to those. There was a discussion of in-person board meetings. The board will discuss with the board attorney the parameters with having in-person meetings. The limits as concerns the number of people permitted in live attendance will have to be in accordance with direction from the governor's office, which you know is an ever-changing directive. Just for your information, the 2021 board meeting dates were looked at, and they are on the agenda for approval. And there are resolutions to approve disposing of obsolete woodshop equipment and BMS library books, which have been identified as the librarian as no longer being in circulation. The wood shop equipment will be sold. The books will not. And that's my report. Any questions?
The wood shop equipment that's being sold, that means we're not going, is it old equipment, or are we not doing, what's going on with this?
It is obsolete equipment. So it no longer, it's basically been gathering dust. It no longer has a purpose.
Okay, thank
Ms.
you.
I
Birchie,
believe
there's
Ginny
a-
said it had been replaced, correct, Ginny?
Yes, there's a replacement for that particular equipment. So it does work, but it's not being used by the school at all.
Okay, thanks.
And I just want to make a comment about the in-person board meeting. So, Pat, to your point that the guidances have been changing so frequently, and we've had updates since we last met, but, opportunity for the board to discuss this, but we are planning to move forward with an in-person meeting for May. We're just working through logistics but that is the plan right now. So, I just wanted to give you an update. I've been working a little bit with Derlise to figure out, what we need to do from a capacity standpoint as far as the public, and we'll work through those details and move forward, planning to do this in May.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so I move items, I believe it's 1 and 2. Is that correct, Ginny?
There are 2 in the addendum, so it's 1 to 4.
1 to 4. Do I hear a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call?
Sure, Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Nicole, curriculum, please.
Hi, everyone. The curriculum committee met on Tuesday, April 20th for 2 hours, and all committee members were in attendance. Dr. Dempsey, Dr. Butler, and Ms. Coughlin also joined us. We began the meeting by approving all professional development requests and discussing the status of the testing requirements for this year. The United States Department of Education determined, due to the impact of COVID-19, that the START Strong assessments in English language arts, also known as ELA, math, and science may serve as New Jersey's required general assessments for the 2020-2021 school year instead of the NJSLA or PARCC tests. START Strong assessments will take place this fall. However, to fill data gaps and to ensure that students are progressing toward grade level standards, New Jersey's Department of Education is collecting data from locally administered assessments that provide a snapshot of student learning during the school year. Each district will rely on local ELA, math, and science interim assessment data to report student progress. Considering the impact of COVID, the state of New Jersey projected that only approximately 33% of New Jersey students would be assessed to be academically proficient in ELA, and only approximately 25% would be academically proficient in math this year. According to our district's assessments of academic proficiency, 58% of our grade 3 through 8 students were assessed to be proficient in ELA, and 45% were assessed to be proficient in math during the data collection period, higher than the predictions for statewide proficiency. By comparison, results from the 2019 NJSLA assessments indicated that 70% were proficient in ELA and 55% were proficient in math before the pandemic. While these data are not directly comparable, they do suggest that our students would benefit from additional instructional time. They also serve as a potentially useful benchmark for developing a learning plan to provide additional support for students, including summer programming options. Next, we discuss the state's guidance for developing learning plans to address COVID-related educational challenges. According to the New Jersey Department of Education, districts should prioritize extensive summer programming and adopt and implement personalized and research-based solutions like intensive tutoring. Considering these priorities, we reviewed several options for summer programming, including the continuation or expansion of the summer program for English language learners previously used to support kindergarten students, the use of a free trial of the iReady ELA program, or the use of Rutgers research-based virtual K-12 summer reading program. Given the curricular challenges of this year, the educational needs of the majority of the district students, and the logistical challenges faced by district families, the committee was very excited to discuss the lengthening of the school day for middle and high school students on May 10th. Dr. Dempsey then presented the top line results from the BMS World Language Survey administered last month. About 1/3, or about 32% of parents responded. Overall, parents strongly agreed that BMS students needed a choice of languages. Generally, Spanish and French were the overwhelming first and second choices. Parents' third choice was usually American Sign Language or Latin. Michael Catelli will be attending next month's curriculum committee meeting to present next steps. Finally, Dr. Dempsey briefly reviewed her preliminary plans for increasing math instruction in 5th and 6th grade to address COVID-related learning gaps. In 5th grade, BMS is planning to offer 6 periods of math per week instead of 5, possibly by using 1 period of the wellness class for math instruction each week, increasing the duration of math instruction by about 30 hours. For 6th grade students, BMS is exploring the option of creating a program similar to the 7th grade statistics course with a possible focus on geometry. And that concludes my report. I'd like to move items 1 through 4 on the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, no comments. Roll call.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Okay, Kathy, personnel, please.
Sure, thanks, Heather. The Personnel Committee met on April 22nd at 3 o'clock for an hour. All board members were in attendance, and we were joined by our two administrators, Dr. Dempsey and Dr. Butler, along with our administrative intern, Ms. Coughlin. Our meeting topics surrounded personnel and district planning for the 2021-2022 school year. With that, I'd like to move items number 1 through 10 on the agenda, as well as items 11 through 14 on the addendum. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please, Mrs. DeMarco?
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro.
Yes,
Motion carries.
okay, thank you. Jamie, policy.
Okay, the policy committee met on April 22nd at 4 p.m. for about an hour. All committee members were in attendance, as well as Dr. Dempsey, Dr. Butler, and our administrative intern, Teresa Kaufman. So all the policies this month in for first or second reading were mandated, except for policy 2468, independent educational evaluations, which is not mandated, but it outlines the guidelines for parental rights for outside independent educational evaluations. So we have that in for first reading. As Pat had discussed in facilities, we talked about the two upcoming senior end of the year events that will take place on the turf field, and that their hours are outside the hours that are stated actually in the regulation 7511. We talked about whether we going forward should amend that regulation to allow for that. Actually, policy 7510 states that the board reserves the right to authorize or deny the use of its facilities through the superintendent or designee if it's in its judgment there is good reason to do so. So perhaps we will just look at adding such a line to regulation 7511, which should cover any such exception. We talked about the order of committee reports in our policy and whether that needed to be changed in any way. We're discussing such things in the Community Relations Committee, which I'm sure Sam's going to touch upon. So we're circling back to that. We haven't made any decisions about that at all right now. And lastly, we just touched on athletic physicals and forms, and if there was a way to simplify the process for parents when their forms are incomplete, but that is really more of an administrative item. So administration will take a look at sports form loops to see if any tweaks are needed. That concludes my report. And with that, I would like to move items 1 and 2 on the agenda. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Janice. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Yes,
Motion carries.
okay, thank you. Okay, Sam, community relations, please.
Okay, thank you. On April 20th at 9 a.m., the Community Relations Committee met for about 1 hour and 15 minutes. All of our committee members were in attendance, in addition to Dr. Dempsey, Dr. Butler, Dr. Nigel, and Ms. Garofalo, and our administrative intern, Ms. Coughlin, was also in attendance. As Jamie touched on, we very briefly discussed a potential change to policy 0164 regarding the conduct of board meetings and making a referral to the policy committee regarding the sequence of committee reports. The initial thought was to have the Community Relations Committee report out first at public meetings in order to outline how comments and questions from the public were being filtered out to committees and administration. This would in turn provide context for some of the content of committee reports and greater understanding for the public. It was a very initial brief conversation. No conclusions were reached at this time. And as Jamie touched on, we will be discussing further next month. We continued our work regarding enhancements to the webpage, working from a rough outline. The BOE webpage menu and content was further discussed. The group has looked at other state BOE webpages for best practices, as well as layouts and content that were not effective. Relevant information provided by NJSBA and the county were also reviewed. It was determined that the best way to move this work forward was for committee members to meet separately in an ad hoc capacity to deal solely with the content for the webpage. The goal is to be able to provide sections of the webpage to IT on a monthly basis so that the page can be upgraded in a manageable way and ideally be complete in its static components for the start of the new school year. This month, the group will focus on we are working on creating an appropriate menu for the webpage and repackaging the existing webpage elements so that they are more refined and effective. The next issue we discussed was how public questions and comments are handled outside of public session. The intent of the discussion was to determine if there is an effective and efficient way to create a feedback loop that fulfills the board's responsibility to provide two-way communication with the public while maintaining the order of the public meetings and not engaging in question and answer sessions. In this scenario, community relations would strictly be charged with tracking and reviewing public comments from the previous month's meeting and determining which committee these comments should be referred to determine if further discussion or action was required, or if there were previously addressed matters that did not require further attention at that time. Additionally, where appropriate, comments would be referred to administration to be handled. The goal would be to help educate and create a clear process for the public as to how comments and questions directed to the board are addressed. Further discussion is necessary and will continue next month. Finally, Dr. Nigel and Ms. Garofalo presented on how and why due dates and times are determined for online assignment submission. The midnight deadline, most commonly employed by staff at BMS and BHS, are a default setting in Google Classroom, which is believed to allow students the entire day to complete assignments. It was explained that this is not a hard and fast deadline and that teachers are flexible with them as they receive information and feedback from students, and that students are encouraged to communicate with teachers regarding the impact of specific deadlines. It was explained that given the extraordinary circumstances teachers and students have been navigating and the new implementation of the drop and rotate schedule, these electronic submission deadlines will constantly be evolving and adjusted over time and will be reevaluated as we return to a more normal in-person experience. The developmental and management skill differences across the grades was also discussed, and the need for a more tailored approach going forward may be necessary. There will also be investigation into how alerts and reminders are used within the system and if and when they should be turned off, as they can be confusing and cause undue stress on students. At this time, Community Relations did not discuss the need to refer this to committee for further discussion or action. I have no items to move forward, and that concludes my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Sam, I just want to make a comment on the public comment section and like that feedback loop. I kind of like the direction that it's going in. I think that it will help us specifically call out some of what we currently do, but may not always be understood by the public. So, you know, a lot of times if comments are made, they will be referred to a committee, and it may not always be in that next month. It depends on agenda items. So, you know, I kind of like the direction that this is going in. So I am looking forward to some additional conversations in that, just so that it's, you know, very clear how we're always directing those comments for everyone.
I also think it's important to note that while we listen to all the comments and we would figure out which committee it went into, a committee may decide that that is not something that the board is going to do anything about at this point. It depends on where that falls in our
Yeah.
list of
That yeah,
priorities.
that I had mentioned that in terms of it
Yeah.
being referred to committee and committees making the determination over what to do with that,
Right.
or administration for that
So
matter.
it's not like it goes away, it just
Right.
didn't hit the list.
Yeah.
And sometimes the comments get then addressed in the superintendent report. So that is, you know, good for people to understand as well. So, which occurs nice and early in the meeting. If there's no more discussion on community relations, we can move on to supplementary matters. Do any board members have anything for supplementary matters this evening? Jamie.
I saw today, I believe, that the governor said there can be dancing at proms. So I was happy about that.
That is welcome news. Anybody else?
Yes, I wanted to just acknowledge the Environmental Commission. Once again, I did bring this up earlier, I guess it was last year, that the Environmental Commission dedicated a plaque to the 2020 graduating class since they were hit very hard with the COVID issue. At that time, they planted daffodils and they are now in bloom on the triangle across from the football field. They are absolutely beautiful. And I don't know if you could see them. We'll see if I could hold this up a little bit. Anyway, if you get a chance, honestly, it was really nice of them. They did a lot of work and I appreciate it. And I do want to read a little poem that I used to read to the kids in school from the A.A. Milne poem book. He wrote the Winnie the Pooh stories and poems, and it's called Daffodilly. She wore her yellow sunbonnet. She wore her greenest gown. She turned to the south wind and curtsied up and down. She turned to the sunlight and shook her yellow head and whispered to her neighbor, winter is dead. So perhaps when you walk by and you look at those daffodils, you'll think of them in another way. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move into public comments then. Public comments are welcome at this time on any topic. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. If you would like to speak, please type your name in the chat and I will call on you. Thank you for your input. Okay, so we will go back and start with Mr. Hemans then, please.
Hi, thank you again. Again, my name is Nick Hemans. I live at 29 Old Army in Bernardsville. I teach at the high school. I've been teaching here for 10 years, coaching for 11. I'm also a Bedwell parent as well. My son is in first grade. I'd like to address the anticipated change to a full day schedule with lunch and offer some brief insight as to the teacher and students' experience as of this point in the year. Throughout this pandemic, we've learned a valuable lesson: to listen to the medical experts for guidance. So when we make decisions about school, it would make sense to listen to the teachers that are in the building on a daily basis. After multiple schedule changes, BHS is finally at its most normal since March of 2020. I use the word normal as most of the reasoning that I hear regarding a move to a full day schedule at this point is that things need to get back to normal. What I can tell you is that increase of in-person students from Q1 to Q4 was significant. We gained over 230 students who were excited to return to their classrooms and interacted with their teachers, and the teachers mirrored that excitement tenfold. The noise in the hallways was a welcome change. Classrooms have regained some semblance of what they once were. Class conversations have increased, student engagement has multiplied, and teachers once again feel a sense of normalcy in their daily instruction. As I understand that everyone wants this ideal return to normal schooling, probably no one more than the teachers themselves. The sacrifices to make a full day with lunch happen at this time. They far exceed the reward. In mid-May, gaining minimal additional minutes, I believe 110 minutes, which is under 2 hours total in the five-week period. With our students, we'll have a direct correlation to an increase in those switching to all virtual cohort. From conversations heard in the classrooms, far more students intend to switch to all virtual instruction than those that respond to an initial survey. The structure of the intended lunch period, no socializing, minimal time to eat, long study hall period that will be followed by attending additional 3 classes after. So is anything but normal. The reality is the study halls will be conducted in the gyms where desks remain 6 feet apart, with students facing the same direction. We've witnessed this setup since the beginning of the year, and the structure makes it almost impossible for socialization. Most students sit in silence during these times, and it's most certainly will not replace the value of the current instructional support model for those of our students who are struggling. The concern for another change to an already inconsistent year with only 5 weeks remaining will put us back to what school was like at the beginning of September, a time that was full of anxiety, minimal student engagement, and empty classrooms. To put it in sports terms, we're in the last 5 minutes of the game and we've played our hearts out. Don't change the game plan now. We're winning, and it could cost you the game. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Habibi.
Hi, Sama Habibi, 8 Mosley Road, Gladstone, New Jersey. Sorry, I don't know what said New Jersey. I would like to just take a minute to thank the Dr. Dempsey and the Board of Education and the administrators for opening up the school. I have a son in middle school and a daughter in middle school, and they desperately need to be back at school all day. This virtual in the afternoon is just not working out for them. And I really do appreciate you making every effort, even though in the last couple of weeks left in school, to go back to normal so that they can be ready for September. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Jubal.
Yes, I just have a request for more information regarding the elimination of the music teacher position that was mentioned during personnel. Maybe someone can speak to, I guess, what budgetary increases resulted in this, and also just provide more information on where this position is being eliminated, and if this decision is final or will it be reconsidered? Because in my opinion, with kids and mental challenges that have been experienced this last year, activities such as music are important for student wellness, and again, I just think it should be reconsidered. And then I also wanted to add to Ms. Virtue's comments, the environmental committee planted those daffodil bulbs in the rain, and I believe they'll be out on Friday afternoon to further beautify that garden. So if you want to bring a shovel and help out, we could probably use your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jubal. And I just would like to point out that as this is not a question and answer session, if there is anything that that I would like to address, or Dr. Dempsey, it will be done at the end of the comment session. Okay, thank you though for your input. Miss Albanese DeMar, please.
Hi, everyone. Christine Albanese DeMar here. I teach at Berners High School. One of the classes I teach is anatomy and physiology. So I just wanted to come on here and brag a little bit because we just had our annual field trip this year, where we watched a live surgery. Mr. Young's class and we watched a live surgery. And so yesterday we were able to pretty much do what we normally do. Instead of journeying to Liberty Science Center, we had it in the PAC and we watched it on the big screen there. And our students were able to watch live a kidney transplant. And it was just honestly so amazing. The surgeon was Dr. Geffner, who operates out of St. Barnabas. So maybe somebody in the community is connected with him. It took him 2 hours, and in 2 hours, he cut a person open, took out their kidney, cleaned it up, and put it into another person and had it working. So it was absolutely amazing for our students. It was so impressive. I think one of the highlights is they do the surgery laparoscopically. So they make these little tiny incisions and they feed cameras in and their tools in, and you're watching through the camera and the kidney's, big as anything. And then he threads a plastic bag into the body and scoops out the kidney after he's detached it. And then they switch to a camera that's looking down at the patient. And all of a sudden he's just pulling a kidney out in a plastic bag. It's oh my God, it was amazing. And our students had a wonderful time and they learned a lot and they got to talk to the whole surgical team and ask them questions. So it was interactive and it was a really amazing opportunity. So I just wanted to share that it happened, that it was amazing. You guys approved it. So thank you. And that's it.
Thank you so much.
It was really incredible.
Exactly.
I have to concur.
It sounds like that's a fantastic opportunity for our students, and we appreciate you sharing that. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Dickinson.
Good evening. My name is Joel Dickinson. I live on 41 Crestview Drive. I am a senior of the class of 2021 at Bernards High School. I traditionally do not participate in Board of Education meetings, and today I have sacrificed a significant portion of my time to speak for the student body of Bernardsville High School. And I would like to start off by saying that with all due respect, I and many others are alarmed by the lack of transparency with regards to the last-minute decision by the Board of Education. The board attorney clearly stated in her exchange with Mr. Hemans that the high school full-day schedule change is not an actionable part of the agenda for the day today. And I think that goes to show for how little consideration there are for the concerns of the students and teachers of Bernardsville High School. I and over 1,000 others who signed the petition in complaint of the sudden change in school have not been given the polling information regarding how many students will go virtual once the full-day schedule goes into effect for Bernardsville High School. If the number of students here is significant, this directly contradicts the statement from Mrs. Santoro regarding the wishes from the Board of Education to have more opportunities for socialization and time with guidance counselors. The students and staff members I have engaged with regarding the schedule change also believe that going into full days will not affect the academics in any significant manner for the 2020-2021 school year. As the schedule stands, with the block schedule as it stands today, we have 155 minutes per class each week. With the new change in schedule, we will have 196 minutes per week. For only 41 extra minutes of class each week, you are creating a stressful new environment which students and staff have expressed deep and overwhelming concerns over. And we believe that this is not worth the immense trouble and possible mass exodus of students from going in person to full virtual, like myself, for the remainder of this school year. Once again, I and over 1,000 others ask that you reconsider this well-intentioned but clearly flawed and unpopular change in the high school class schedule. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Berman.
Hi, my name is Edward Berman, 502 Timberbrook Drive. And before I start, I'd like to applaud and echo some of the things that Lucy Taylor, Joel Dickinson, and Nick Heeman said. They were all very well spoken and they clearly did their research before they talked, and I appreciate them doing their civic duty. They did a terrific job. And I also wanted to echo that I feel as if the school is speaking doublespeak right now. They acknowledge that the needs of younger students do not mirror the needs of the older students, and yet they generalize us in as if we're the same. that we deserve full days just because the grades beneath us also did full days. Collegiate institutions across the country have long since abandoned this style of pedagogy because they have seen that giving students the opportunity to bring their education into their own hands is so beneficial. And of course, the free time to pursue their academic passions is just so incredibly fulfilling. Teachers, parents, and students alike have all publicly and privately expressed disinterest in this. They've gone strides through petitions, comments, social media, Facebook, the bubble, practically everything under the sun. And we feel like as if we cannot come across more clear that we are not in favor of this. The Board of Education is going directly against the pedagogy of their own teachers, and it's infringing upon them. So they would know better than anybody else. Further action would definitely have to be taken as I'm trying to say that the students are not done here. Even if it doesn't get changed at this board meeting, we are going to continue to fight for this because it's something we are passionate about. It's not a matter of the kids not being lazy. We're not trying to shirk off responsibility. We truly believe that the half-day schedule is advantageous to us, especially with AP exams right across the corner. I have an exam on Monday, and I have to tell you, one teacher, Doc Farah, has done a terrific job utilizing this instructional support time to give me all the resources I need to do well on this exam, going over tests and the like. That's all I have to say. And I once again thank you to everybody that spoke before me. They did a terrific job.
Thank you. We appreciate your input. Mr. Stevenson.
Hello. I'm a sophomore at high school. My 23 Ski Hill Drive vendor. Like Eddie said, I want to echo and full support for those who spoke before me in regards of the full day schedule. Many students suffer from mental health, and all people do. This schedule is reinforcing the fact that we students are craving structure, and the short schedule, which we've had implemented for 7 months now, is finally fitting in with those people, whether they've been home all day or all year, or whether they've been in the in-person cohort. Me, myself, I've been in the in-person cohort since September, since every day I've been able to get into school. I just wanted to let the board know that I'm strongly against this change and have written them a letter regarding that. In my letter, I state that my AP World History class, when taking a vote, had over a 90% rate of people saying that they would return to the all virtual cohort. These actions I just want to alarm the board of this alarming rate of students returning to the all virtual cohort, and let them factor that decision into what they want to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Echo.
Hi, so I don't have a speech prepared like everyone else, unfortunately, but I just want to say thank you to all my peers, both in my grade and who are under me. I'm very shocked, and honestly, I'm honored to be in the same school as them. So my input in regards to this whole situation, Mr. Hemans hit the nail on the head, is that I really don't understand why a survey was only given out to parents when the people who are directly affected are the students and the staff. So it's kind of not a great generalization for data. It completely skews it. It's just bad, not plausible statistical analysis. So I just don't understand why all of a sudden, once we get an influx of data, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. So anyways, I just don't understand why it's only, generalized to the parents, and then that's just an automatic decision to say yes. It should be generalized to the students and the staff as well, like any other survey. And like Eddie said, we can't just make this generalization to Bedwell and BMS. The high schoolers are the ones who go through a lot of stress academically, extracurriculars, applications to college, etc. Some of us even have jobs now. Immediately after school, 3 o'clock, we get started with our jobs. And, to say like, hey, pick up and, completely readapt your schedule to now this new schedule that's for the last 5 weeks of school is just unrealistic. The 15-minute break is unrealistic. To refuel a body after wearing a mask for so long and not being able to hydrate. When I was in school, I'd get yelled at when I drank my water. So I can't even imagine if I wanted to like pull out a snack during class. So I just think there's a lot of loopholes in this new plan, and I appreciate the alteration and idea, but it's just way too difficult to adapt to, especially in the worst month of high school, which is exam month. May is very, very exhausting and difficult, and it's tiring. People start to burn out. So to ask students to immediately start to not only adapt to a new change in time for the whole day, but to now deal with exams as well is just way too much of an ask, not only for the students, but also the teachers as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Struble, I'm not sure if you want to speak again or not, but I'm going to ask you to wait till the end to give everybody their first opportunity to speak. Mrs. DeStefano.
Hi, Phyllis DeStefano, Bedwell kindergarten teacher. I know we always hear reports from the high school and the middle school about all the great projects that they do, but I just wanted to brag about some of the projects that Bedwell has been doing and that I'm proud of. In October, our staff raised over $500 for the Carol G. Simon Cancer Center for the Think Pink that we have every year. And the funds will help cancer patients with rides, babysitting. We were even mentioned in their website, on the hospital website. In November, our whole school donated under 50 bags of food to the Market Street Mission for our Thanksgiving drive. In December, we sent over 2 carloads of toys to foster children of Somerset County. And lastly, we just did a food drive for a local food pantry. I'm so proud of Bedwell, and I just wanted to give a shout out to us, to all the great projects we do. And I really wanted to thank Lori Heppis also. And lastly, I just want to give a shout out to all my coworkers at Bedwell. I think we've been throwing some real curveballs this year with the little guys, and I think we've stepped up to the plate. So I just want to give a shout out to all our little guys and what a great job they're doing also. And to the principal, the vice principal, and all my coworkers. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate hearing about this and what generous spirit that you guys are fostering in our students at Bedwell. We certainly appreciate it. Okay, Ms. LeBruno.
Hi there, Wendy LeBruno here, Child Study Team Learning Consultant for the district. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to really applaud Lucy Taylor for disseminating the data compiled from the student-initiated petition with such poise and grace. So thank you, Lucy, for that. And to the BHS students who have already spoken this evening, and to all of you who signed the petition, regardless of the outcome of the petition, you should all be congratulated for being such active voices and for advocating for yourselves and what you feel is right for you. So congratulations to all of you. And I understand where you're coming from, and you really should be applauded for your efforts. And this, ladies and gentlemen, everyone who's participating in this meeting right now, is just one exemplar of why BHS is ranked so highly in the state. Congratulations to you students, and congratulations to the teachers of the district. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Ms. Beckerman.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I live on Tiger Hill Drive in Gladstone. I have an 8th grader in the middle school and a sophomore up at the high school. First of all, I do commend the high schoolers who have spoken about their opinions and their experiences. And I know this is difficult because there's so many sides to this. I would also like to thank the board for all their hard and diligent work since the pandemic. And I do not envy your job, as it was a truly difficult one during this pandemic, trying to meet all the needs and desires of such a diverse community. I'm personally grateful for your thoughtful policies, which have to take into consideration so many aspects of educating all of our kids. I support you opening the schools full time, however, because both of my children are benefiting. Like I said, I can't speak for every student and every parent, or educator, but this is my personal opinion, what I see personally in my kids. And I also substitute at the middle school, and I do see the wonderful benefits of in-person learning, and our kids really need to get back to being educated. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stevenson.
Thank you, Heather. Susie Stevenson, 23 Ski Hill Drive, Bedminster, New Jersey. I am speaking in my individual capacity. I happen to be the president of the Bedminster School Board of Education, but I am not speaking as such. I'm also one of the co-chairs of Project Graduation and not speaking in that capacity either. I just wanted to say that I also commend all the students that have come out here and spoken on their behalf. I would reiterate everything they and everything Mr. Heeman said. As someone whose kids have been in this building from day one this September, as much as it was open, they were always there. So I truly believe that in-person education is better, but I would just ask that you reconsider for 4 weeks. I also have a son who goes to Bedminster School and has been in person full day for several months. So I do know the benefits of that. But I would ask that the Board of Education and Dr. Dempsey consider the fact that this isn't 4 parents coming on here and complaining, or 1 teacher coming on here and complaining. This is a substantial portion of the high school community speaking out in opposition of the change of plans for 4 weeks. And so for that reason, I would ask that you reconsider your decision. I understand everything that went into it, and I really do appreciate everything you've been doing all year. It hasn't been easy, I know that. So thank you very much for considering that. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you for providing your input. Mr. Buckley.
Jonathan Buckley, 20 Woodland Road. So as many of my peers have reiterated, we do not believe this is a very good move mental health wise for the students. Our last day of school without masks or restrictions was March 12th, 2020. Right now it is going to be May on Saturday. For the past year, we've been in quarantine and we have obeyed restrictions. And at the same time, our coming of age movies have had to halt filming, so to speak. We have had to miss out on a lot of experiences due to the pandemic, and we're happy to do so because it is our responsibility. But now with the year coming to close, I feel as though it's a little unfair to increase our workload and flank the school day last minute when these restrictions are loosening and we can have some semblance of a normal high school experience and senior year.
Okay, thank you. Susan Golden.
Yes, good evening. Just a very brief comment, and this may be better directed to Dr. Nigel, but I guess I don't know if it is a board policy or something that needs to be addressed to the superintendent or something directly at Bernards High School. But I know with regard to this upcoming schedule change, the policy that seniors may exercise senior privileges, but may only leave campus on foot as opposed to driving is going to remain in place as of May 10th. And the point I would want to make is just that if safety is the issue and COVID has been our driving concern now for over a year, I don't understand why we wouldn't be changing policies to allow kids to depopulate the building and allow seniors who have privileges and have earned those privileges through, academic excellence and being of good character, why we can't make a small exception during a pandemic to allow seniors who have earned senior privileges and are now going to be in school full day from May 10th until graduation, why we cannot allow them to drive so they can depopulate the building and drive home for the hour and 10-minute break that they're going to have. So again, not sure exactly who this comment should be addressed to, but whoever is the appropriate person, I would really urge you to consider that for the safety and mental health of the seniors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I don't see anybody else that would like to speak. Dr. Dempsey, is there anything that you would like to address?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Santora. First of all, I want to thank the staff that kind of came out and shared their good news from their building. Can you hear me?
We're having a hard time hearing you.
Can you hear me, Heather?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm going to leave my camera off. Tell me if that is better.
Okay, that's much better.
So I wanted to thank these staff members who shared their happy news from their classrooms, from their buildings. I regret that I couldn't bring myself to go see the operation. I sent Miss Albanese DeMare an email. I fainted in 10th grade biology lab, I admit it. And I am not the woman who wants to go see things like that, although it sounds really cool when you describe it. From a standpoint of Ms. Struvel's comment, I can share that in looking at the numbers in the district, we see decreases in Bedwell and the middle school that are projected across the next 5 years. And certainly that informed the motion that is on the agenda there. For Ms. Goulden, I appreciate what you shared, and certainly when we talk about that, I believe you're correct that it's not necessarily a board policy, and it's certainly not something that I have any knowledge of coming out of my office. What I can say is it's probably the way things have typically been. And I appreciate the sensibility that, there are things that, given that the world is so different these days, we should look at doing things differently. One of the changes that we have made over the course of the last 2 years is to really reconfigure the position of the assistant superintendent. I think that you all know that Dr. Butler has a background not only in curriculum, but also in guidance. And I have charged her with sort of looking at what the student experience is K-12. And sometimes the things that fall under that are nice, neat packages, and sometimes they have tentacles. And I think a lot of what I've heard here tonight in terms of the building's concern about this change, I think maybe we need to get in the weeds on some of the details of what does lunch look like. I think there are things there that could have direct impact on how the day feels and how students experience it. Sage, I appreciate your comment about surveys, and certainly I'm not exactly sure which ones you were referring to, but I can tell you that when it comes to making decisions about experiencing school in person or virtually, mostly the students that we are interested in are minors, and so we do reach out to their parents for that decision making. I think, Heather, that's pretty much all I wanted to speak to this evening, but I certainly can tell everybody that we welcome their input, and we always take all of this very seriously. We're trying to balance a lot of information for the best for the district.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Dempsey. And then I did see, I'm sorry, I don't know if I missed it, but Kelsey Klein would like to speak. So Kelsey, we'll take your comment, please.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Klein. I live on Brookside Drive in Gladstone. And there was just one thing that I don't think was mentioned or considered in the decision of making this full day schedule. On the schedule that was produced and I guess spread out to students at this point, school ends at 2:21, but most of the spring sports practices start at 3 o'clock. And I guess so far this year, locker rooms at the high school have not been open. And I was just wondering, especially for students that aren't seniors, who don't have their cars at school, and students that aren't juniors who can't drive to town or have time to drive all the way home and drive all the way back, I was wondering what accommodations were being made for that if locker rooms are back open. I think that students are kind of in the dark in that regard.
Thank you, Kelsey. That is definitely on our list.
Okay. Okay, Elena Berg.
Hi, sorry I missed typing my name when everyone else was speaking. First, I just wanted to thank you guys so much because I know that this is super hard and I feel like a lot of times people kind of can only think of their own experiences, so it's hard when you're 18 to think of how a minor would be handling this situation, or how someone younger, a freshman. And I was thinking that at least in my opinion, I would think that it would be more beneficial if a different type of policy could have been put in place where you could have the option to stay in school for the instructional support time or something. But I think that's not plausible now, just that it's so late in the school year, which is why in my personal opinion, it's a little late to go back to full days. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for thinking of other students who don't have the same, not all students are AP students, and so it's hard to see everyone's perspective. But just now in the school year, I feel like it's a little late. And then also along the lines of what Mrs. Goulden said, I know it's not really in your power to change the Bernard's High School's policies for senior privileges probably, but I think that just in terms of COVID, it would be beneficial to have senior privileges during study hall periods if the periods are going to be lengthened, or even if they're not, because now how it is, you can leave campus if you have the study hall first or last period. But I think if students seniors could go outside, or at least sit in their car or walk to town for a short period of time in their study hall, one, less kids would be in the gym, and two, they could get a breath of fresh air. If we have long days, it's very taxing, wearing a mask all day. So just a little break. I hope that if it does go to full days, which I hope it doesn't, but if it does go to full days, I hope that the school can try to just think of different ways to adapt already existing policies with senior privileges and going outside. So I hope that just more.
Elena, I so appreciate what you said, and what I can tell you is that, not that we will try, but I promise you that we always look at what we do and how to do it in ways that work for kids. So I can't tell you, oh, sure, we're going to change it, but I can tell you that Dr. Butler and I certainly work closely with Dr. Nigel, and all of the ideas that you've shared, that Mrs. Goulden has shared, we will certainly take back and see how those could impact it, because we want it to be the best for everybody. It's just hard sometimes to figure out one solution that works for all. But
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing as there are no more comments at this point, I would like to thank everybody. I think we always welcome everybody's input. I think our students have represented them well. And, as several people commented, we are, we're proud that you've come out and spoken and used your voice. So, we certainly appreciate that. And dialogue always, makes us a better school district overall. So I certainly appreciate that. And we thank everybody. I think it is time for,
So you need to close public comment now. So now you want to close public comment.
Okay, so can I have a motion to close? Should we have a motion for that, Jerlise?
Yeah, just have a motion to close public comment.
Okay.
So that
I make a
it's clear
motion.
that we're done.
Okay. Motion to close, Jamie?
I'll make a motion, yep.
I'll second.
Okay, and we do need to go back into executive session. So do we
So
close?
Heather, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, just
Yes,
to be,
no worries.
so we're rigorous. All in favor? Because you got a motion, you had a second.
Sorry. All in favor of closing public comments, please? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay.
Okay.
Public comment is closed.
Thank you. Jerlise, do we need to adjourn the public meeting and make a motion to go back into executive?
If we're going into executive, no, you would have a motion to go into executive session.
Okay.
But if we're not, if we're going to have any action, then we have to tell the public that action may be taken. If we're not going to have any action, then we tell them that action won't be taken, but then you close the meeting after executive session.
Okay.
So is it executive session and we're expecting action to be taken afterwards? Dr. Dempsey? No action. So we're just going to go into executive session now. We'll probably be about half an hour or so. Dr. Dempsey, maybe? You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry. I would think 15, 20 minutes should do it for what I have on the agenda. I don't know if there's anything that the board didn't complete on their part of the executive agenda from earlier, but I think a half an hour tops.
All right, so we're going into executive session to discuss personnel for approximately half an hour. There won't be any action taken at the end, so we'll be closing the meeting after executive session. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
we still need a motion to go into executive?
Okay. Can we have a motion to go into executive, please?
I move we go into executive.
I second.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
See you
Okay,
there.
you guys have the link for that executive session.
Okay. Thank you.